Hey everyone, welcome to Creators and Copy. I'm Erica, the founder and CEO of Autofluencer, and joining me today is Michaela Connor, the founder Trackside Agency. Hey
Hey,
Michaela,
Erica. So glad to be here today.
great to have you. So, I think first thing would be helpful for everybody is for you to just share what is Trackside? How did you get started with Trackside? Where did the idea come from?
So, I've always loved motorsports. I grew up in Indianapolis, so going to the Brickyard 400 and the Indy 500 was always a big part of my life. And it wasn't until later in my career, after I had been in marketing, after I got my degree in business, that I got introduced to off road. And I kind of noticed an opportunity where drivers needed a little bit more education for marketing and business practice to help make their sponsorships flourish. They were struggling to get big sponsors, they were struggling to deliver results. And so that's where Trackside was founded.
That's awesome. And by the way, I can't believe all the times that we talked, this never came up. I grew up in Indy
Ah,
too.
really? That's so cool.
Yes. Yes. What side of town did you grow up
Lake
on?
Anderson, so just outside of Indy, but I've
Oh,
lived in
yeah.
Southport
Yeah.
too.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. See? Look, all the small world. That's so fun. Well, we'll have to talk about Indy after the call. This last year, so congratulations, first of all, making it a
Yes,
year,
thank you.
right? What have been some of the biggest maybe aha moments or eye openers that in running the agency you've experienced in the last year?
Man, there's been many, and mostly because I come from a healthcare background, so learning everything about automotive and motorsports has just been like drinking through a fire hydrant. There's so much information coming at me. And things apply a little bit differently in motorsports than they do in other industries. But I would say some of the most eye-opening things that I've noticed so far is underutilizing social media to help subsidize your sponsorship funds. I've noticed there's a big gap in drivers making content but not getting paid for it, or not making content at all and leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah. So when you have that kind of situation, when you are, let's say, working with a driver, what advice do you usually give them? Like, how do you help bridge that gap? Because sometimes it's just a bandwidth thing.
Yeah, no, I would say a majority of it is bandwidth and not having the time to put their boots on the ground. And that's why working with an agency is a great option because we take some of that off your plate so you can focus more on driving.
Right. And so for you, the end client for Trackside, is it the driver paying you? Is it the brand paying you? Is it a combination? How does that usually work out?
Yeah, so we're actually pivoting starting this year a little bit away from what we were doing one-on-one with drivers just so we can help more and bring more brands trackside. So we actually work with the brands now to help manage their marketing budgets and help get them into motorsports. Maybe they've never been in it before and they don't know how, or maybe they do know about motorsports and they want to explore other avenues and different series. We help connect them with the drivers and then we take a commission of that deal.
Speaking of social media, I don't know if this will be should be like when is the webinar? Don't you and Megan Meyer have a webinar coming
We
up?
do. The webinar's in mid-October. I believe it's the 15th and 16th or 14th and 15th.
Okay, yes. So this will go live before that. So, but you have also a uh tell a little bit about kind of the offering that you and Megan have put together and because this really speaks to what you're saying with the social media side of
Yeah,
things.
totally. So right now we have a freebie guide on how to get paid to post where we teach 6 ways to monetize your social media. This can be UGC content, affiliate, and even just getting paid from Facebook alone. Erica, I'm not sure if you have your social media monetized yet, but I'm getting paid from posting on Facebook and I'm not even a race car driver with all of this really cool and engaging content. So we have that offer. It's free to download at motorsportsmarketingtips.com/get paid to post. And from there, we'll have a webinar that actually goes more in depth. It's 90 minutes long, and we'll really dig into different types of posts you can make, ways to reach out to those brands to actually get those deals, and so much more.
If they miss the webinar, will they be able to get access like pay to get access to it later? Because the webinar is a paid webinar,
The
right?
webinar is also free. There is a paid
Oh,
upsell
sweet.
access to get 30 days to the replay, which would end sometime in November. We have a big launch coming up at the end of the webinar, which will give them access to so much more. It's going to be a platform for drivers where they can learn everything from social media to sponsorships, marketing, and branding for themselves. It's going to be a huge library for anything and everything they need to know for racers of all levels.
Okay, great. So then what we'll do too is we'll make sure we have links and stuff
Okay.
posted. So that if you're watching this, hopefully it'll be in the
Yep.
comments of this video on YouTube. Clearly, I mean, there's the education side and then, the bandwidth side, which, there are services out there. I am seeing more and more drivers, you know, start to invest in media. And I think one thing, even with like a partner like you and or working with the brands, I mean, I think sometimes drivers and even the brands can step over pennies to pick up dollars, right? Like we're going to save, I'm going to try to do it all myself.
Mhm.
But then you run out of time. You're working on the car, you race it, you're doing the thing. Talk a little bit about what you've seen with drivers do invest a little bit in kind of the media side or getting help on that side versus those that are trying to do it all themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, racers have a lot going on. There's families, there's the garage, there's the weekends at the track, and everything else in between, right? So I've noticed a lot of drivers when I do see them succeeding well on social media and getting a lot of partnerships, almost always have some sort of agent representing them. These can go many different ways, but also hiring videographers and content capturers for you so that you're not having to worry about that on top of everything else. And then sometimes
Yeah.
having an editor too also helps with that post production, putting those reels and other pieces of content together.
There's so many ways where the social can help, but as you work with brands, the you mentioned this kind of before, right? That are you hearing from brands that when they're thinking about doing a sponsorship, they're wanting to see their brand mentioned in social, they're wanting to see attention there as part of the sponsorship kind of package?
Absolutely. With new age sponsorships within the last 5 to 10 years, as social media continues to grow, social media is one of the most important and included things within a package. It's no longer wrapping our vehicle with your logo, the sticker placement that's pretty traditional. We're including full social media packages: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. The full suite of social media has been included in the sponsorship deals. It's very important.
And when you're talking to a brand, I mean, one thing I've heard, and maybe you can say this as well, and I've had these conversations with brands, especially if they haven't done motorsport sponsorships before, or they've only done product only partnerships, and you're trying to convince them, right? The holy grail is to throw down some money and come to the table with some money. How do you package then the value of what that driver is going to provide?
Yeah, so one of the tools that we use at Trackside Agency is Autofluencer, and that really helps us talk about, yeah, not paid to say this.
Whoa, no way.
It really helps us gauge how much value a driver is worth. We can go back on past campaigns they've done to get an estimate, and then while we're in the middle of those partnerships, we can actively track the engagement and the earned media value as well.
Like, have you had scenarios when you're going through the data where you're like, "Oh, shoot, we're under delivering. We need to step it up."
Yeah, totally. So if we say that we estimate 100,000 views in a month to a brand and that's what they're paying for, and maybe a week or 2 weeks into the campaign of that month, we see that we're not on track to hit the rest of the month. We know we need to step up how much content we're producing. Maybe there's a quality issue, maybe use some more trending audios and just using that autofluencer feedback and data to help us guide the rest of the month.
I think one thing powerful to what you were just saying, Michaela, is I see a lot of, and I've heard this from brands that have been turned
Yeah.
off from paying or partnering or sponsoring, and have looked to other avenues, especially when it's longer and it's for a season because they felt like they were maybe sold a bill of goods. And then come into the season, they reach out to that partner and they're like, "Hey, what have you done for us?" I think there's this misconception that the brand's going to be watching everything you're doing during this season. And if you're falling behind, they're going to be like, "Oh, hey, we feel like you're not meeting requirements." And what we see is they wait till the very end and then they're like, "What did you do?" And then people are like, "Oh, shoot." So for you, it sounds like, being able to stay on pulse, right? Like knowing kind of what's happening, what has made a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
versus waiting to the end.
Yeah, and I think that's another benefit of working with an agency like ours is that one, we keep you on track, but we're also keeping up to date with that information before we get to the end of the season. We're tracking it after every single race event that you have, whether it's the series sending us information and us putting together that social media feedback from Autofluencer.
For the brand, as you guys are kind of pivoting as an agency and working more with some of the brands that you've come into contact with and helping them kind of manage kind of their sponsorship side. I mean, I would think the same, right? Like goes into play because kind of like I say, the brand can be watching everything, but now as the brand, you could use Autofluencer to see all the drivers and know what's really happening,
Yeah.
right? And be more involved.
Absolutely. I've definitely talked to a few brands that have used Autofluencer before, and it's really great for them to log into that back office, be able to see all of the drivers that they work with in those campaigns. They can see their top performers, they can see who's kind of struggling. Do they have enough time to check it often throughout the season? Most likely not, but it's a lot better for you to keep up with it throughout your season than it is to get to the end of the season and realize you're very far behind.
Do you see now that brands are making decisions that are more data driven now that they have access? Whether it's Autofluent, I mean, we're not the only game in
Right.
town for brands that are bigger sponsors that do both like event sponsorships, track sponsorships, and huge driver sponsorships. I know a lot of them use Hook It, which is kind of like the, big level, it's going to be way more expensive than an autofluencer, but it's also, for it can tell you if you're on TV, like it can tell you all these things. So, so for brands that are using data, do you see that changing their decisioning on who they may or may not partner with for the next year, or kind of changing their expectations?
Oh, absolutely. I think it makes it a lot easier for them to vet those people also, but you're thinking of big brands like Monster Energy, Red Bull. They have huge teams of people in marketing and sponsorship activations that are analyzing this data all the time, figuring out who is performing the best, where the events are that are performing the best. So yeah, data is a huge factor in sponsorship decisions.
Yeah, I think we're only gonna see more of it. Again, I mean, I think Hook It is one level, then there's Autofluencer, and then we're really kind of the only other game in town, but that certainly won't last, right? Like other players will get into the measurement space. I think that's a good thing for the industry overall because now the more data, hopefully, my hope is not that it gets used. I mean, it certainly will get used. I think some people are like, oh no,
Yeah,
to say no to someone, but I think it'll be a nicer no because it's based on data versus subjective, right? And so now as a racer, you can give them, if you're representing the brand, you can give them feedback and be like, "Yo,
yeah,
you didn't really do what you said you were gonna," or you have like, and you can pull that data versus just like, it's just not working. And
yeah,
then for the racer, now they can have like a game plan.
yes.
All right, I missed my numbers. Kind of like what you were saying, what you guys do. It's now I need to look at it during the season, and there are tools out there. I think it'll overall, and then the hope being that we can then use data to say, hey, this person is worth 10,000, 20,000, a $50,000 sponsorship because they're going to get you $150,000 in earned media value this season.
Exactly, and that's what we use it for too, is working with renewals, so we can pull that data at the end of the season and say, "Hey, this is how much value we delivered for you this year. Let's work again together next year." Or approaching other brands that we haven't worked with a case study. "Hey, we worked with a brand in your space that made this much money or earned media value was provided," and then start that conversation with the other brand. We can probably do it for you too.
I think it's really powerful. What do you see kind of on the horizon for racing sponsorships? I mean, do you see more interest? Do you see interest waning? Like what do you see as the opportunity if you're kind of forecasting for the next 12 months? What's kind of your outlook
Yeah.
on the sponsorship
For
world?
the next 12 months for grassroots drivers, I think social media is going to be your biggest gameplay. But I think overall, the motorsports industry is growing exponentially. And I do see a lot of new brands coming into NASCAR, IndyCar, and especially F1.
And I think it helps, right? I mean, I think sometimes for grassroots racers, that can feel a little annoying maybe or frustrating that like these brands are going in there.
Yeah.
But I do believe there's then like a trickle down
Mhm.
because once people get a taste, The hope is that we do see a Mission tortilla chips, right, that has been doing NHRA pretty consistently, like, would love to see them come down to some of the grassroots levels, or like a girlfriend like Streetcar Takeover or something, like, and start to see some of those brands that are kinda getting the taste up here as those sides, especially to your point, F1 has really done a great job of attracting very different brands, and can we see that trickle down into grassroots? And I think as we have more agencies like others out there, but as we have more people getting into the space, we have more bandwidth to have conversations with those brands, to be at some of those events and say, "Oh, hey, have you ever thought of off-road? Have you ever thought of the Champ Off-Road Series? Hey, this is all the reasons why," and having those advocates going to those brands hopefully will shift them, bring that down. So I think it is a good thing that you're seeing kind of this mass appeal starting at the top level and, with the goal to funnel it down and have that, because once if they're spending like $1 million,
Right.
$2 million on F1,
Why can't you give
what's
me
a hundred
500?
thousand over
Yeah.
here? That's like nothing.
Right. And even to the track level within the United States. So they could be brands sponsoring late model track or dirt track, but not wanting to work with drivers just because they don't have that report at the end of the season with the actual tangible delivered results. Well, now we do.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Michaela, thank you. This has been awesome. It's been enlightening. And I love seeing people. I love that you're at a year, everybody jumping in. Certainly, we've done it and jumped into the deep end of entrepreneurship, and it can be scary, but congrats on a year. And I'm looking forward to hearing so much more for you. Looking forward to the webinar as
Yeah.
well.
Thank you, Erica, for having me.